On Christmas Day in the Appelhans home, laughter from a big family fills the room.
Open it up, Dad.
This year, Jack Appelhans receives a special gift, a World War II rifle from his youngest son, Ron.
There was no guns allowed in the house, and it was probably about 15 years ago now. Sitting at the table, Dad was talking to somebody, a family member, and he said, I'd kind of like to have a Garand like I carried during the war. And I was kind of shocked about that because he'd never, ever mentioned anything about wanting a rifle or any of that. So I thought, I'll keep that in mind. And so it was about a year later, I actually found that and gave it to him for Christmas.
It marks an emotional turning point. Jack Appelhans finally starts talking about what happened in the war. In the bitter cold of winter 1944, the United States Army's 11th Armored Division arrives in the small Belgian town of Bastogne in a battle against Germany. Blinding snow grounds all their air support, leaving Appelhans and his division exposed to a surprise attack.
The first day that we were engaged in the military activities, the division lost 867 men.
Those who survive bring home lasting scars.
Dad got a case of frostbite during the Ardennes campaign, which is known as the Battle of the Bulge, and never quite recovered. His feet were never warm after that, ever.
After the brutal Battle of the Bulge, the division surges towards Germany's Rhine River.
Dad was a commander of what they call an M16 half-track, which has 4 50 caliber machine guns on it. They call it a quad 50.
Jack's half-track bears the name the Yellow Rose of Texas.
You have a gunner, 2 loaders, a driver, and a commander.
On New Year's Day, 1945, Jack loses one of his men.
Charlie Payer is shaving for whatever reason he's shaving, and I'm standing beside him. The next thing you know, bingo! Here comes the big old 88, one of the Germans' finest artillery pieces, and goes off. Poor old Charlie there, and I'm standing beside him. Didn't bother me at all. By the time you heard the thing, it was in your lap.
There would be time to grieve later. While crossing the Rhine River, Jack witnesses a scene still talked about today.
One of the things that I vividly remember in crossing the Rhine, there was a fellow standing there who was waving us across the Rhine. And I saw the old guy peeing in the Rhine, showing disdain for the Germans. His name was George Patton.
The war winds down, with its secret horror not yet exposed.
The next thing you know, we encountered this concentration camp.
Mauthausen in Austria, an extermination camp hidden behind stone walls high in the mountains.
The 11th Armored Division actually liberated the Mauthausen concentration camp. And that's another thing that Dad said is my dad had no tolerance for what they call Holocaust deniers, people who say that never happened. He says those people that have no idea what they're talking about. He says, I was there, I saw it firsthand, and he said it was horrific.
Jack sees the ovens, the piles of bodies, so many that a bulldozer helps dig mass graves. But there are stories of survival.
We rescued this Jewish fellow off this bone pile. He was already tossed on the bone pile, supposedly dead. We rescued him.
Among others rescued, Simon Wiesenthal, who later dedicated his life to tracking down fugitive Nazi war criminals. And Tibor Rubin from Hungary, who later became a United States Marine, earning the Congressional Medal of Honor in the Korean War. So many stories, and Jack writes home often during the war, many times asking for food.
I hope to get one of your packages pretty soon, because I get awful damn hungry. Says, please send me another package with eats and some hair oil. Gotta look good.
You're talking about a kid that was inducted into the military at 119 pounds.
And when he gets out, he weighs exactly the same. There are lighter moments, too, showcasing Jack's rowdy sense of humor.
They were going through a town in France, and there was a gal up in a second-story window whistles down, hey, soldier, come on up, I'll give you something you've never had before. And he yells back, what, VD?
But it's life after the war that Jack truly enjoys, including 67 years with doting wife Neva. They have 11 children, 3 girls, 8 boys. One of them joins the Air Force for 27 years. And don't forget the 20 grandchildren and 9 great-grandchildren. Jack spends as much time as possible at Arvada's community garden. Always the overachiever, he grows cabbages the size of basketballs.
I'd say probably one of the things I'm mostly proud about my father is the fact that he was able to persevere through the horrors of war, what he saw during the war, things that they did during the war, and come out of it in the end to be a contributing member of society, to raise this phenomenal family that we have. I'd say that's probably one of the best things a person could do, is to carry on and do the kind of work that he did over the years.
Jack Appelhans died in April of 2014 at the age of 89. His uniform and medals preserve his history, and his voice lives on thanks to an interview recorded by a family friend 4 years before he died.
I think everybody that served in a combat situation needs to have their story preserved, because these were not the generals, these were not the people in charge, these are the rank and file soldiers that were doing the dirty work, so to speak.
Dirt and all, Jack's life tells the story of a man with a strong work ethic who always did his best and celebrated all that life has to offer.